The last signal. The collective's emergency council convened in their grand chamber on Proxima Centauri b, their crystalline forms reflecting the light of 1,000 stars through the transparent dome above. High Chancellor Vexrith, their most senior member, raised all four of their appendages, a gesture that immediately silenced the chamber. Let the record show. Vexrith's harmonic voice resonated through the chamber, that on the 15th cycle of the 457th year since human contact, all signals from Earth and its colonies ceased simultaneously. The assembled representatives stirred uneasily. The humans, unpredictable, resourceful, and remarkably adaptable, had been a source of both fascination and concern since their discovery of faster-than-light travel 3 centuries ago. Their rapid expansion across the galaxy had prompted the collective to establish careful monitoring protocols. But this was unprecedented. Admiral Lyrax studied the holographic display with growing unease, her iridescent scales shifting from deep blue to a troubled green. The quantum communications array, humanity's pride and joy, had fallen silent mid-transmission, not just on Earth, but across all 17 major colonies and 42 outposts. Simultaneously. "Play it again," she commanded, her crystalline voice sharp with tension. The AI complied, projecting the last transmission received from the Sol system. The hologram flickered to life, showing Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's representative to the collective. Weekly status report. Dr. Chen's image smiled professionally. All systems nominal. The quantum bridge experiments continue to show promising. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving only static. No distress signal. No warning. Just silence. That was 3 days ago. The initial panic among the collective species had been predictable. Humans, after all, had always been the volatile element in their carefully ordered galaxy. Too curious, too innovative, too willing to push boundaries that older species knew better than to approach. Some representatives had already begun suggesting that humanity had finally crossed a line, unleashing some catastrophic experiment that led to their downfall. But Lyrax knew better. In her 3 decades of monitoring human activity, she'd learned one crucial thing. Humans never did anything without a reason. Update from the reconnaissance fleet. Admiral, her second-in-command, Commander Zix, materialized beside her workstation. Unlike Lyrax's crystalline form, Zix belonged to the gaseous Nebulians, their form contained within a sophisticated environmental suit. Report. All human settlements appear intact but completely powered down. No signs of battle, no radiation signatures suggesting weapons discharge. It's as if Zix's form swirled uncertainly, as if they simply turned everything off and walked away. Lyrax's scales shifted to a deep purple of contemplation. Life signs. None detected. But Zix hesitated. There's something else. Something our sensors can't quite parse, like echoes or shadows where there shouldn't be any. The Admiral's attention snapped to her subordinate. Explain. Our quantum scanners are picking up discontinuities, microscopic fluctuations in space-time around every human settlement. The science division says it's as if reality itself is slightly out of phase in these locations. Lyrax felt her crystalline form vibrate with unease. The humans have been working on quantum bridge technology, supposedly a new form of faster-than-light travel. But their research had been closely monitored, their progress carefully tracked. Nothing in their reports had suggested they were anywhere near a breakthrough. Unless, access the archived monitoring data, she commanded. I want every report, every scan, every casual observation of human activity for the past decade. Admiral, the humans have been planning this, Commander. The question isn't what happened to them. The question is what they want us to think happened to them. As the data began flowing across her screens, Lyrax noticed something that made her scales shift to white. The color of revelation. The energy consumption patterns of human settlements have been gradually changing over the past 5 years. So gradually that the monitoring systems had marked it as natural technological evolution. But when viewed all at once, "They've been testing it," she whispered. "Piece by piece, settlement by settlement. The quantum fluctuations, the power signatures, they weren't building a bridge between points in space. What were they building, Admiral?" "A veil," Lyrax replied, her voice filled with a mixture of horror and admiration. "They found a way to shift their entire civilization slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. They're not gone. They're here, right here, watching us from behind a curtain of quantum manipulation that our sensors can barely detect." The implications were staggering. The humans hadn't self-destructed. They hadn't fallen victim to some failed experiment. They had orchestrated the greatest disappearing act in galactic history. But why? As if in answer to her unspoken question, the quantum communications array suddenly crackled to life. But instead of the expected transmission, it emitted a series of pulses, an ancient human method of communication called Morse code. Lyrax's universal translator processed it immediately. "What teach the darkness between stars? Why they're overcoming." The message repeated once and fell silent, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Lyrax's scales shifted rapidly through colors of confusion, fear, and finally, determination. The humans hadn't abandoned the galaxy. They were preparing for something. Something that required them to become invisible, not just to the collective, but to whatever was coming from the darkness between stars. "Alert the Council," she commanded, "and begin a deep space scan of all regions beyond the galaxy's edge. If the humans went to these lengths to hide and warn us, we need to know what they're hiding from." As her orders were carried out, Lyrax couldn't help but admire the audacity of it all. In a galaxy of ancient civilizations with technology refined over millions of years, humanity had managed to do the impossible. They'd found a way to hide an entire civilization in plain sight. And they'd done it right under the noses of species that had considered themselves their superiors. The real question now wasn't where humanity had gone. The real question was what they had seen coming that frightened them enough to pull off such an extraordinary deception. As the deep space scans began, Lyrax had a feeling they were about to find out. "Commander," she called to Zix, "prepare a report for the Council. Tell them." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Tell them that humanity hasn't fallen. They've evolved. And we need to be ready for whatever made them take such drastic steps." As the command center burst into activity around her, Lyrax kept her attention fixed on the quantum fluctuations their sensors had detected. Somewhere behind that invisible veil, humanity was watching, waiting, and preparing. And soon, the rest of the galaxy would understand why. The last signal had not been an end. It had been a beginning. Whispers in the void. 5 years had passed since humanity's disappearance, and the galaxy had changed. The collective's monitoring stations at the edge of known space had tripled in number. Every unusual reading, every unexpected energy signature was analyzed and catalogued with almost obsessive precision. But despite their vigilance, they were unprepared for what happened on the 5th anniversary of humanity's vanishing. The Helios Deep Space Array, positioned at the galaxy's outer rim, detected it first. A wave of something that defied conventional physics, rippling through spacetime like a stone cast into still water. Ships across 20 sectors reported their quantum drives fluctuating in perfect synchronization, and in the spaces between stars, shadows began to move. Another distortion event, Commander Zix announced, their gaseous forms swirling with agitation within their containment suit. 7th one this week. Admiral Lyrax, her crystalline form now etched with the stress patterns of 5 years of vigilance, studied the readings. Her scales had long since settled into a permanent deep indigo, the color of focused determination. Pattern. Same as the others. Begins with quantum resonance signatures similar to what we detected around the human settlements, followed by localized spacetime distortions. But this one's different. Zix brought up a detailed scan. We detected something in the aftermath. A fragment of something. The holographic display showed an object no larger than a human hand. It appeared to be a piece of technology, but its very existence seemed to challenge reality. Parts of it existed in normal space, while others faded in and out of perception, as if refusing to fully materialize in their dimension. Analysis. Partial match with human quantum bridge research, but far more advanced than anything in their records. The energy signature is unlike anything we've encountered, except... Zix hesitated. Except in the deep space readings we've been getting from beyond the galaxy's edge. The ones that prompted humanity's warning. Lyrax felt her crystalline structure resonate with tension. For 5 years, they'd been detecting something approaching from intergalactic space. Massive objects moving at impossible speeds, bending light and space around them in ways that violated known physics. The collective's best scientists had been unable to explain what they were seeing. But now, they were preparing for this, she said softly. The humans. They saw it coming and developed technology to exist outside normal spacetime, not to hide from us, but to fight whatever's approaching. Admiral, a junior officer interrupted, their bioluminescent form pulsing with urgency. We're detecting a massive distortion forming in the Orient sector. The holographic display shifted, showing a region of space where reality itself seemed to be unraveling. As they watched, something began to take shape within the distortion. A structure of impossible geometries, its surface rippling with the same quantum fluctuations they'd observed around the human settlements. It's a ship, Zix whispered in awe. Or at least it was. The design is human, but they trailed off as the vessel fully materialized. It was like no human ship they'd ever seen. Its hull seemed to exist in multiple phases of reality simultaneously, parts of it transparent, others solid, all of it moving with an organic fluidity that should have been impossible for constructed matter. And emblazoned across its shifting surface was a message in the common galactic script. We are not hiding. We are evolving. Before anyone could react, the ship transmitted a single data packet, detailed scans of what was approaching from beyond the galaxy. The images showed vast, dark shapes moving through the void, entities that seemed to consume both matter and energy, leaving absolute nothingness in their wake. The data was accompanied by a message that made Lyrax's scales shift to pure white. They feed on reality itself. Conventional spacetime is their hunting ground. We had to step outside it to have any hope of fighting them. We're sorry for the deception, but we needed time to perfect the technology. Now we need allies. As if to punctuate the message, more distortions began appearing across the sector. From each one emerged another impossible ship, each one a testament to what humanity had achieved in their 5 years of quantum isolation. They had not merely hidden themselves, they had transformed themselves into something new, something that could exist between the moments of normal time. Orders, Admiral, Zix asked, their forms swirling with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Lyrax studied the fleet of phase-shifted human vessels, her mind racing with the implications. The humans hadn't abandoned the galaxy. They had appointed themselves its guardians against a threat they alone had seen coming. And now they were reaching out, offering to share their impossible technology before it was too late. Send word to the Council, she commanded. Tell them. She paused, her scales shifting to a color that had no name in any galactic language, a color of hope mixed with terror. Tell them humanity has returned, and they'd brought our only hope of survival with them. As the message was transmitted, more human ships continued to emerge from their quantum veils. Each one was a miracle of engineering, a fusion of science and desperation that had transformed humanity into something that could fight the darkness between stars. The galaxy was about to change again, and this time, humanity would lead the way. The Hidden Symphony. The collective's grand assembly chamber had never been this full. Representatives from every spacefaring civilization crowded the vast amphitheater, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry of evolution. At the center of it all stood Dr. Sarah Chen, the same human who had delivered the last transmission before humanity's disappearance. But she was different now. Her form shifted subtly as she moved. sometimes seeming solid, sometimes transparent, as if she existed in multiple states simultaneously. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that shouldn't have been possible in normal spacetime. We detected them 3 decades ago. She began, her words resonating at quantum frequencies that made the universal translators hum. At first, we thought they were just anomalies in our deep space scans, regions where our probes went dark, where light itself seemed to vanish. But then we realized, these weren't natural phenomena. They were feeding patterns. The holographic display above her showed the entities they'd discovered, vast, dark shapes that moved through the void like oil through water, consuming everything in their path. But now, with humanity's enhanced sensors, the assembly could see them clearly for the first time. They were organic and geometric at once, their forms following mathematical patterns that hurt to look at. We call them void hunters, Dr. Chen continued. They exist primarily in dimensions adjacent to our normal spacetime. What we see here are just their shadows, the parts of them that intersect with our reality when they feed. They consume not just matter and energy, but the underlying fabric of spacetime itself. Where they pass, they leave behind spaces that can never support life again, regions where the fundamental constants of the universe have been devoured. Admiral Lyrax, seated in the front row, felt her crystalline form vibrate with dread. How did you learn to fight them? A smile flickered across Dr. Chen's shifting face. We didn't. Not at first. We learned to hide from them. The quantum bridge technology we were supposedly developing. It was never about faster-than-light travel. It was about learning to exist slightly out of phase with normal spacetime, just like they do. We needed to understand how they moved, how they perceived reality. And to do that, we had to become something more than what we were. The display change, showing the transformation of a human settlement. Layer by layer, it shifted out of phase with normal space, its residents learning to exist in a state of quantum uncertainty. Buildings, vehicles, even the humans themselves became fluid, adaptable, able to slip between the moments of conventional time. The process wasn't easy, Dr. Chen admitted. We had to rewrite our own biology at the quantum level, teach ourselves to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Many of our people struggled with the transformation. But we had no choice. The void hunters are drawn to concentrated areas of space-time activity. Like civilizations, they've been feeding their way through the universe for billions of years, leaving dead galaxies in their wake. Now they've found us. How long do we have? Someone asked from the assembly. At their current pace, 2 years, perhaps 3, before they reach the galaxy's edge. But we've learned something crucial about them. Dr. Chen's form solidified momentarily, emphasizing her next words. They can't consume what they can't fix in normal spacetime. Our phase shift technology doesn't just hide us from them. It makes us indomitable. The implications rippled through the assembly. Humanity hadn't just found a way to survive. They'd discovered the void hunters' only weakness, but the scale of what they were proposing. You want to transform every spacefaring civilization in the galaxy, Lyrax stated, her scales shifting to a deep purple of realization. To teach us all to exist as you do now. Yes. Dr. Chen's answer was simple, direct. It won't be easy. The technology is complex, the biological adaptations are challenging, and we'll need to work faster than we did with our own transformation. But we've refined the process, made it more stable. We can help you all evolve beyond what you are now. It's the only way to save the galaxy. The assembly erupted in a chaos of voices and electromagnetic communications. Some representatives recoiled at the idea of such a fundamental transformation. Others demanded immediate access to the technology. Still others called for more traditional military solutions. Dr. Chen waited patiently for the noise to subside. When she spoke again, her voice carried an edge of steel beneath its quantum harmonics. We understand your fears. 5 years ago, we faced the same choice. But ask yourselves this, what is more frightening? Changing what you are, or ceasing to be entirely? As if in answer to her question, The massive display above showed a new feed from the deep space arrays. The Void Hunters were moving faster now, their vast forms distorting the very space they passed through. Behind them lay absolute darkness, regions of space where reality itself had been consumed. "We offer this freely," Dr. Chen concluded, "not out of altruism, but necessity. The Void Hunters cannot be fought with conventional weapons. They cannot be reasoned with or deterred. They can only be outlasted, outmaneuvered, out-evolved. Humanity spent 5 years learning to become something new. Now we have less than 3 years to help the rest of you do the same." The chamber fell silent as the weight of the choice settled over the assembly. They were being asked to trust the same species they had once feared and contained, to undergo a transformation more fundamental than any in their histories. But as they watched the feed from deep space, watched reality itself being devoured, they began to understand what humanity had realized 5 years ago. Evolution wasn't just an option anymore. It was survival. Resonance. The transformation of an entire galaxy was not a gentle process. 2 months after humanity's revelation, the Arcturus system became the first test site for large-scale phase shift conversion. Admiral Lyrax stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as waves of quantum energy rippled through space, gradually shifting the crystalline cities of her homeworld into a state of temporal flux. Her own transformation had been completed a week earlier. The process had been disorienting, frightening at times, as her crystalline form learned to exist in multiple states simultaneously. But now, as she observed reality through both conventional and quantum senses, she understood why humanity had chosen this path. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying new harmonics that made the ship's quantum core resonate in sympathy. "Phase shift at 60% and stable," reported Commander Zix, their gaseous form now containing swirls of quantum probability. "The civilian population is adapting faster than projected. The human advisors say it's because our crystalline biology has natural quantum properties." The massive display showed the progression of the transformation. Buildings, vehicles, and even the planet's crystalline inhabitants were becoming fluid, adaptable, existing in a state that would have been impossible to comprehend just months ago. But more importantly, they were becoming invisible to the Void Hunter's senses. "Update from the deep space arrays," another officer announced, their form flickering between states. "The Hunters have increased speed again. New estimated arrival, 18 months. Lyrax felt her crystalline structure vibrate with concern. They were running out of time. Even with humanity's refined process, transforming every spacefaring civilization in the galaxy was a monumental task. Some species were adapting quickly, their biology or technology making them more compatible with the phase shift process. Others were struggling, their very nature resisting the quantum transformation. And then there were the holdouts. "The Mechanoid Collective is still refusing transformation," Zix reported, their form swirling with frustration. "They claim their synthetic nature makes them immune to the Hunter's feeding." "Show them the Cassini footage," Lyrax ordered. The display shifted to a recording from one of humanity's early encounters with a Void Hunter. They watched as the massive entity passed through an automated mining facility. The machinery didn't just stop working, it ceased to exist, the very laws of physics that allowed it to function being consumed by the Hunter's passage. A communication request flashed across her consciousness, one of the new capabilities of their transformed state. It was Dr. Chen, her quantum signature now as familiar as any conventional signal. "Admiral." The human's voice resonated across multiple frequencies. "We've made a breakthrough. The transformed systems aren't just hiding from the Hunters, they're creating a new kind of space-time fabric, a resonance field that strengthens with each additional conversion." The implications hit Lyrax like a quantum wave. "We're not just adapting to survive them. We're building something new," Dr. Chen confirmed. "A galaxy-wide quantum matrix that exists in parallel to conventional space-time. The more systems we transform, the stronger it becomes, if we can complete enough conversions before they arrive." We might be able to push them out completely. Lyrax finished. Her scales shifted through patterns of possibility, calculating. How many systems do we need? 80% coverage at minimum. The vessel moved with impossible grace, its systems operating on principles that would have been incomprehensible months ago. It was beautiful and terrifying, a glimpse of what their combined civilizations could achieve in their new state of existence. How many can they build? Lyrax asked, her military mind already calculating strategies. That's the interesting part, Dr. Chen replied. In our transformed state, conventional manufacturing limitations don't apply. The shipyards exist in multiple probability states simultaneously. They can produce vessels in parallel timelines and merge them into primary spacetime as needed. The only real limit is the number of transformed species contributing to the design and construction process. Lyrax felt her form resonate with something she hadn't experienced since the crisis began. Hope. They weren't just running from the hunters anymore. They weren't just hiding. They were building something that could fight back. Transmit the Cassini footage and the shipyard data to every holdout system, she commanded. Show them what we're becoming. Show them what we can achieve together. She paused, her form solidifying briefly with determination. And prepare my ship for transformation. It's time to show the galaxy that this evolution isn't just about survival. It's about becoming something greater than we ever imagined. As the orders went out, more quantum distortions appeared across transformed space. More ships, more innovations, more possibilities emerging from the combined creativity and determination of species learning to exist in new ways. The galaxy was changing, faster than anyone had thought possible. The Void Hunters were coming, but they would find more than prey when they arrived. They would find a galaxy that had transcended its own limitations, united in a way that would have been impossible without the threat they posed. They would find a galaxy that had learned to hunt back. The Symphony of Stars. The Void Hunters arrived 3 months early. Their massive forms tore through the fabric of conventional spacetime at the galaxy's edge, reality crumbling in their wake. But the galaxy that greeted them was no longer the feast they had anticipated. 79% of inhabited systems had completed their transformation, not the 80% they'd hoped for. But it would have to be enough. Admiral Lyrax stood at the quantum helm of the hunter-killer flagship Unity's Echo, her crystalline form resonating with the ship's hybrid systems. Around her, a crew comprised of 7 different species operated in perfect quantum synchronization, their transformed consciousness allowing them to process information across multiple probability states simultaneously. They're testing the quantum barrier, Dr. Chen reported from her position as science advisor. Her form flickered through several states of existence as she analyzed the data. The resonance field is holding, but they're already adapting their approach. Through both conventional and quantum senses, they watched as the Void Hunters encountered their first transformed system. The massive entities tried to feed, to consume the space-time fabric as they had done countless times before. But the transformed planets and stations simply shifted phase, becoming insubstantial to the Hunters' feeding attempts. All Hunter-Killer squadrons, execute Operation Resonance, Lyrax commanded, her voice carrying across quantum frequencies to the gathered fleet. Thousands of ships, each one a miracle of multi-species engineering, moved into position. They had trained for this, practiced in compressed quantum time, but this would be their first real engagement. The Void Hunters reacted to the presence of the fleet with what could only be described as surprise. These weren't the simple prey they were used to encountering. These vessels existed in the same dimensional space as them, could track their movements, could hurt them. The battle that followed defied conventional description. Ships phased in and out of multiple realities, quantum weapons disrupting the Hunters' dimensional integrity, while the massive entities tried to adapt their feeding patterns into weapons. Space itself seemed to warp and twist as 2 fundamentally different approaches to existence clashed. Quantum matrix at 93% strength, Dr. Chen reported as the battle raged. The combat is actually accelerating the resonance field's formation. The hunters' attempts to feed are being converted into constructive interference. Lyrax felt it through her transformed senses. The galaxy-wide quantum field was growing stronger, more coherent. Every transformed system, every phase-shifted ship was contributing to a growing symphony of quantum resonance. They weren't just fighting the hunters. They were rewriting the fundamental laws of their region of space. But the hunters were ancient, experienced predators. They began to coordinate their attacks, focusing their feeding attempts on the untransformed systems. 21% of the galaxy was still vulnerable, and the hunters meant to use that weakness. Mechanoid Collective reporting critical system failures, an officer announced. Their synthetic immunity isn't holding. They're requesting emergency transformation protocols. Divert transformation ships to their systems, Lyrax ordered. All combat-capable vessels maintain pressure on the hunters. We need to buy them time. The battle shifted into a desperate race. Hunter-killer squadrons harried and wounded the cosmic predators, while transformation ships rushed to protect the remaining conventional systems. The Void Hunters fought back with increasing desperation as they realized their prey was becoming something they couldn't consume. Hours stretched into days. The transformed fleet never tired, operating across multiple time states to maintain constant pressure. The hunters began to show signs of confusion, then what appeared to be fear. These weren't the easy meals they had expected. This galaxy had transformed itself into something new, something that could fight back. Quantum matrix achieving critical resonance, Dr. Chen announced on the 7th day of battle. Field strength approaching theoretical maximum. Lyrax felt it building, a crescendo of quantum possibility as billions of transformed beings and systems synchronized their existence. The galaxy itself was becoming a single vast quantum entity, with each transformed consciousness adding to its complexity and power. All ships, execute final phase, she commanded. Operation Symphony begins now. Across the galaxy, transformed systems and ships began to pulse in perfect quantum harmony. The resonance field strengthened, expanded, became something more than the sum of its parts. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath as the quantum symphony reached its peak. The Void Hunters tried to flee, sensing the fundamental change occurring around them. But they had come too far, committed too much of their essence to this failed feeding attempt. The quantum resonance field enveloped them, not destroying them, but fundamentally changing them, forcing them to exist in a new way that made feeding on space-time impossible. When it was over, when the quantum harmonics settled into a new stable pattern, the galaxy had changed forever. The transformed civilizations could never return to their original state, but they had become something far greater than they had been. Together, they had created a new form of existence, one that merged the best aspects of all their species with the quantum nature of reality itself. Send word to the other galaxies, Lyrax ordered as the last hunter shifted into harmless quantum resonance. Tell them what happened here. Tell them how humanity showed us the way to evolve beyond our limitations. Tell them. She paused, her form shifting through colors of pride and achievement. Tell them the age of prey is over. The galaxy has learned to sing a new song. Dr. Chen smiled, her form momentarily solidifying. Humanity never wanted to rule the galaxy, she said softly. We just wanted to show you what was possible when fear of change is overcome by the need to survive. Together, we've become something none of us could have achieved alone. As the quantum symphony of their transformed galaxy played on, as ships began the long process of helping other galaxies prepare for their own encounters with the hunters, Lyrax reflected on how it had all begun, with humanity's apparent surrender, their disappearance into quantum shadows. They had seemed so primitive once, so limited in their understanding of the universe, but they had seen the truth before anyone else. Evolution wasn't just about survival. It was about becoming something new, something better, something that could face the darkness between stars and make it sing with light. The galaxy had not just survived, it had transcended. And in doing so, it had written a new chapter in the cosmic story, one where prey became pioneers, where hunters became harmony, and where the symphony of stars played on in eternal quantum resonance. The end.